Hey guys, this is hayne. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. And guys, today's video we're going to talk about 20 free champions that you get in this game that can basically carry you anywhere. These are the 20 free ones that I would absolutely invest in. I'm going to tell you where you would use them, when you would actually start to level them. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, Armageddon, great champion. And then someone gets him day one and I think, great, he's going to be my first 60. No, he's not your first 60 because he's terrible at the start of the game. Okay? So this video is going to be about when do you start leveling these champions? Where do you use them once you've leveled them up? Let's get into it. So we'll start off with the early game. Okay? So the champions that you want to level, you want to invest in early on. And what I try to do with these free champions is kind of just break it down in terms of, you know, what ones can you just go out and farm and which ones do you have to acquire over time. Now, the first one I'm going to bring up, just because he is the login reward right now, is Ninja. I did do a guide on Ninja, and I kind of went into what I use him for, but this guy is solid. Like, he has replaced Shaman, who was terrible, really. He has replaced Shaman, and right now, and for the next 2 months, I think it is, anyone who gets Ninja will keep him. Yeah, a lot of people ask me, do we still keep him? Yes, you do. You keep Ninja, but anyone who logs in 3 months' time will probably be back to Shaman, which is a dreadful thing to do. But yeah, Ninja, absolutely solid. So is he worth investing in? Yes, he is. He is super good in Clan Boss. His A2 is absolutely like insane in Clan Boss. You do need accuracy for it to work. But he's not just a Clan Boss champion. His A3 is a good control ability for waves in dungeons. And it's also quite a hard hitter against bosses in dungeons as well. But I use him basically everywhere in the game on my free-to-play right now. He has absolutely like cranked up my clan boss damage. He has helped me in a lot of Doom Tower bosses because of the A2. It just does so much damage. And the A1's also got a drop defense on it as well. He's got a cool passive which ramps up his own damage, but that only really comes into account on Clan Boss and maybe some longer fights in Doom Tower. But you want to be using this guy in Doom Tower against Sorath. He did a lot of work for me against Scarab Boss, believe it or not. He did a lot of work for me against the Griffin, against Iridoth. Yeah, so almost all of the Doom Tower bosses, he just punches out damage. Super cool champion for Spider, mainly because of the HP burn as well, for an early game player. And very cool champion against someone like Ice Golem. Dragon, he puts in a ton of work against normal Dragon. So Ninja, for a free early game champion, is absolutely insanely good. Like, so good. He should be one of the earlier champions that you level. Today's video is sponsored by Gemstone Legends. Thank you so much for sponsoring the video. Gemstone Legends, what they've done, they've kind of pulled this cool puzzle RPG game together, but then they've thrown in a load of elements. Honestly, it feels like it's a puzzle RPG, but I'm playing Raid Shadow Legends at the same time. We've got champions to level up and to gear. We've got big raid boss modes. We've got equipment and artifacts to equip onto our champions with different abilities. There's live PvP, all sorts of stuff going on, which fits nicely into this kind of puzzle RPG. So you can see here's my in-game nickname, hayne, of course. It's totally free to download, totally free to play for both iOS and Android. I'm playing it here on BlueStacks, actually on my PC. So even though this game is completely free to play friendly, you can still get yourself a promotional pack worth $50 just from downloading from my links below. As soon as you complete the tutorial, you're going to get the pack that you're seeing in the background here, which is a nice Brucey bonus to get you started. So I want to say thank you again to Gemstone Legends. Download the game using the links below in my pinned comment or the video description, and I will see you in game soon. Let's get back to the raid video. I'm going to go through quickly the 4 starter heroes because you'll have one of them, and they probably should be your first level 60 for almost everyone. So let's talk about, I'll do them in order of what my favourite is through to the one I like the least. My favourite is Kale. I'd always recommend, if you're literally starting today, and you pick someone else, I'd say just restart today and pick Kale. But if you didn't start with Kale, it doesn't matter. The other ones are still good. Kale was my favourite. There's a few reasons for it. So let's just say, carte blanche, every starter champion can be a good campaign farmer, They could be a good arena nuker. They all do a similar level of damage on their AoE hits. Okay, so, and that's the same for going through dungeon waves, all of that type of stuff. They all hit hard. So that's a good thing. Like they're the hardest hitting rares of in the game. They're also up there on a par with most of the hard hitting epics in the game on the AoEs. So you don't have trouble with damage. So you then start asking the question, well, what do the different starters bring you for different content? So Kale, why he's my favourite is because he's got multi-poisons all over the place, which means that he's actually awesome for clan boss, awesome for boss fights, especially Dragon, and especially Iridoff. And yeah, that makes him, just for me, a step up from everywhere else. Because where do you want to farm early on in the game? Dragon. Which boss do you want to get as far up as you can as early as possible? Clan boss. Yeah, so he's kind of doing the two things that you want to do most consistently in the early game really well. And then he brings a ton of work in campaign farming and arena nukage. So if I go to my second favourite champion, second favourite starter, sorry, it's going to be Aethel. So why do I like her? Well, if you've chosen her as your starter, she's actually bringing a weaken, and weaken is the stronger debuff against clan boss versus decreased defense, right the way up until Nightmare for doing more damage. So once you get to Nightmare clan boss, decreased defense actually makes you hit harder than weaken would. But earlier on, weaken is the one, because actually the clan boss doesn't have a lot of defense early on. So decreasing his defense doesn't make a massive difference. Still helps you, but doesn't make a massive difference. It's also a triple hit, so when you get Giant Slayer on her, she'll do a decent amount of damage through Giant Slayer. As I said, she's got the nukage and all of that type of stuff. She does do a bit of a self buff, which is cool actually, as well, which makes her A2 hit really hard. But yeah, Aethel's my second favorite, but she doesn't have any content where it's like, with Kale I just said about Dragon, him being an absolute boss. Aethel's just mid-tier everywhere. Like, she'll come in, she'll do damage, but she's not going to be bringing anything special. So my third favourite of the starters is hayne. And it's probably on a par, really. Her and Gale look pretty similar. I kind of like hayne the most, mainly because if you put War Master on her, I think it's her A1, she has got the chance to press War Master twice because it's an extra hit. The game sees it as a hit and then another hit almost like from a different ability. So you've actually got a chance to proc War Master 2 times, which can make her do actually a decent amount of damage in clan boss. But she doesn't bring any debuffs. So she's just all about raw damage. So there's two reasons why it's both good and bad. There's two sides to it. So it's good because you don't have to build accuracy in her build at all, which means that you can just push more damage and you don't have to worry about a stat which is quite hard to grow early on. But it's bad because it doesn't bring you anything else. So it's literally just, right, if she's not pumping out damage, what's she doing? So hayne, solid champion, but not the best of the starters for me. And then the last one up for the starters, again, big AoE damage on his A2. Same sort of thing here. You only need to build these start champions to 85% crit rates. But he also brings a random drop defense ability, which is actually kind of nice. So when you're working through places like faction wars, dungeons, dungeon bosses, decreased defense starts to become more and more important the further you get through the game. So Gaelic does bring a bit extra there. But for me, he's the weaker of the starter champs. Okay, so let's move on to someone else who is an early game champion. This is a farmable rare. So you can farm her from campaign, War Maiden. She actually brings, a bit like I just said there with Gaelic, she's the only rare with a 100% chance to drop defense when she's booked. And you can farm the books from campaign. You farm her, then you farm extra copies of her to get her booked. This is a skill you absolutely need throughout the whole game. Eventually, you might pull some different epics which do the same job better, but they won't do the decreased defense any better than she can. They will just maybe bring you some different utility that she hasn't got. She hits hard. She's got 100% chance to drop defense when she's booked. She's got a cheeky little poison going on her A1, which is nice against Dragon as well. And she is an absolute delight of a starter champion. Not a starter, as a free champion. So she's an early game champion to make sure that you get. Damn, she's good. She's good. Let's move into it's another barbarian actually. Another champion that you can make a lot of use of in the early game. Honestly, he can kind of carry you through to mid game pretty comfortably. Shield Guard. Uncommon. Yeah, this is an uncommon to get to grips with early on. You could even probably just take him to 50 and he does a ton of work. So why is he good? Couple of reasons. So he's got a nice AoE hit. Yeah, on his A2. This is mainly someone who's going to help you get through campaign and help you do damage to get through waves of content in dungeons and Doom Tower. So he fills his own turn meter by 20% for each critical hit, and this is an AoE. So we can actually potentially crit everybody and then just get an extra turn. His damage is based on defense, which means the same stat that is keeping him alive is also making him hit harder. It's great for the early game. There's also not that many champions you're going to build with a stat damage based on defense, which means that they're not trying to absorb all the same gear. He does have a decreased speed as well, so you could put some accuracy on him and against bosses, apart from dragons, be able to drop their speed. And he's got a kind of cool little passive as well. He's pretty slow, but for an uncommon that you can just farm out of the marketplace or get drops on, super easy to get. Pull some mystery shards that you're going to be doing anyway. Good chance to get him, and then he just books himself just by finding more copies of him. So Shield Guard, good one to invest in early on to help carry you through different content. Okay, let's move on to actually another barbarian. Let's do another one. Day 30, you get yourself a high Katoon. People feed her. For some reason, people don't get it. It's like, oh, she's a free champion. She must be bad. She is quality. An absolute quality. I say early game, but she can play right through. If you don't pull better speed champions, she could be right through to Arbiter time, which we'll get onto later. She's got a turn meter fill and an increased speed buff on her A2. Books to a 3-turn cooldown. She can push back the enemy's turn meter with an AoE hit. She's got a speed aura in all battles. So as long as she's your leader, she will speed everyone up by 19%. Auras affects base speed, so it'd be 19% of 104. Speed buffs affect your whole speed, so your speed plus all the gear speed that you get. So just bear that in mind. She's also got a decreased speed on her A1. She does need accuracy to land her A1 and her A3, but she will be your arena speed lead. She'll be in most of your dungeons in your leader spot. She can even play in Clan Boss as your leader spot to give you more speed. She will be in your teams for a long time. High Katoon. Okay, so we're going to jump on to another early game champion that you can grab and level. Saurus. Damn, this guy's nice. So he's an uncommon. He's squishy. He's slow. And everyone's like, why are you talking about this guy? I'm talking about him because he's got an AoE A1 and an AoE A2. So every attack he does is hitting everyone. Okay? And he hits damn hard. That's basically it. He hits hard. He can be your campaign farmer to free up your starter champion to go and get specialized into something else. He can do a lot of damage. He is spirit affinity. All of the campaign farmers, the starter champions are all magic affinity. So actually he complements levels where your starter champion is going to struggle because they're the weak affinity. Saurus steps up. Same as Shield Guard actually. They step up and they're like, we'll do this one for you, boss. And they do the job. So he hits hard. He's a good champion. A lot of people will use him as their campaign farmer right to the end game. It frees up other champions in your roster to specialize somewhere else. And because he's all AoEs, later game, you can still make use of him if you decided not to use him as your campaign farmer anymore. Throw him in the stun set, and he will stun up enemies all day long. Anyone with all AoE abilities is an absolute nightmare to face if they're in stun sets. So Saurus is going to be another one of those early game champions that you can just get from mystery shards or just farm him up, get him from the market, and pretty easy champion to obtain. So last one on the very early game then. This is going to be Spirit Host. So I recommend even before you get your High Katoon, because you get a speed aura here, you could go and farm yourself a Spirit Host from campaign, first level. She's not just bringing the speed aura though, although that's nice. She's also got an increased attack buff for your nuker. So if she goes before your damage dealer in the arena, she'll pick their attack up with the strong version. This is like an epic version of increased attack, so that your nuker is going to slam through people's health pools much easier. This is a nice buff. She's also got, when you get a bit further into the game, when you start to do Doom Tower, a 14 cleanse. So actually taking a Spirit Host to level 50 is not a terrible idea, because she'll still be in your team probably for the first few months. Because against someone like Agref in Doom Tower, you absolutely need a team cleanse. After she does a team cleanse, she puts her block debuffs out there as well for a turn. And then she's got an A1, which is okay. But the Aura and the A2 and A3 are both good right through to the mid game. So Spirit Host is a nice one to get and use early on. I wouldn't say you particularly need to book her out, so like farm more, but to do it, I mean, if you're lucky, it could be two extra copies and she could be done, because you don't care about this A1. If you're lucky, you might need 6. So Spirit Host is on the kind of early bucket. So let's get into the next group. This is like the guys who then pull you through the mid game, okay? And the first one up is an absolute beast, and it will take you right to end game. So I get messaged so many times saying, I played the game for a year, I still don't have a cold heart. And I'm like, who cares? Get yourself an Armageddon. Armageddon is an absolute legendary uncommon. Like, you don't even get it yet. Even I'm saying the words, you still don't understand. You're like, yeah, but he's a green. Who cares? It doesn't matter what color he is. He has got the best turn meter control A1 in the game. They keep launching new champions. They keep releasing new champs, and they're worse than this. They keep doing it. It's like, oh, 3% turn meter drop, 2% drop. It's like, why are you giving us these champions when Armageddon's slapping for a 30% turn meter drop? It's so big. This A1 is one of the best A1s in the game, and it's on an uncommon. In the whole game, it's one of the best. So he drops turn meter by 30% if he does a crit. So you have to get him to 100% crit rate. And what's quite lovely after that then is, because you've got him to 100% crit rate, well, you can just go and smack with his A2, which is an enemy max HP skill, which is the same as a Cold Heart. And actually, because he gets it onto a 2-turn cooldown once he's booked, you just book him through Mystery Shards or through the marketplace. He could be doing this all the time, and this hits for half of what a Cold Heart hits for, but he does it twice as often. So he can actually do the same damage output as a Cold Heart, and he's got turn meter drop similar to a Cold Heart as well. Like, they're a similar champion. He is kind of stat hungry. He needs 100% crit rate. He needs a good amount of defense. His damage is all based from defense and his survivability. And he needs accuracy to land the A1. He absolutely has to have accuracy to push turn meter back. But Armageddon is like mid-game right through to end-game. I actually still use Armageddon in some of my Doom Tower hard boss fights. That's how good he is. So Armageddon is first on the list for the mid-game. We're going to go for someone a bit different. I think Bannerlords. Archmage Helmet. So free champion from Doom Tower, this one. He's the first Doom Tower epic that you will get. And he is a menace. Like, he is worth putting the effort in to get some Doom Tower secret rooms done. It takes some time. It's not going to be a quick investment, this one. This is definitely like a mid to end game sort of champ, I guess. But crazy base stats. Speed aura in arena, it's okay. Massive amount of buffs coming on the A3 on a 3-turn cooldown if you can book him. This is really nice. Speed, crit rate, and crit damage. Means that you can slow people down. Means that you can put less crit rate into builds and keep them buffed up. He's got a nice stun and hard hitting A2. And he's got a kind of cool A1 as well. Pair him with a Seer, and you've got all the buffs you need on your team to rip them off and do like immense amounts of damage. But just generally, he's an absolute solid champion. Can be clan boss, can be arena, can be a Doom Tower kind of wave farmer support champion. So really good support champion in helmets. Let's go on to another one of the free login reward champs. And this one's going to be Dark Hayne. She's a nuke. She's an absolute nuke fest. So her A2 hits crazy hard. She buffs her own attack. Then she nukes for an absolute cannon hit. Chance to put decreased speed on as well. But honestly, I wouldn't build mine with any accuracy. I'd just build a full damage. Don't really care about the decreased speed versus the nuke. But the cool thing about her and why she's a bit different to other nukers in the game, and she hits of a similar level, is because she has got this kind of anti-freeze. Yeah, so she fills her turn meter and activates her A2, which we just spoke about, the nuke, when either she or an ally takes a freeze. Okay, and she's got another passive, instantly removes any freeze debuffs from herself and buffs her damage. So basically, in places where you can be frozen, like Ice Golem, like Sorath, like the arena, she comes up clutch because not only will she not be frozen, she will lay cannon hits on the enemy before she even has her turn. And then she has her turn again and she lays another one. So it's just, yeah, she's cool. She's really, really cool. Great champion. Okay, next one on the list is a farmable champion from the Bazaar. And listen to this because you will want to know this piece of advice. You have to redeem your tokens in the Bazaar every day. You cannot just save up a load of tokens and then think, right, I'm going to get myself 100. You have to buy them one a day because you get a 24-hour cooldown. I am on day, this is my free-to-play account, I'm on day 54. I'm just trying to show you how important he is to me. Day 54, and I've got 34 fragments for Drexar. And I've also got enough gold bars to have significantly more if the shop would allow me to buy them. So I'm going to buy them every single day until I get 100. So it's 100 days of investment. I'll probably get it around day 130 playing the game. He is one of the most end-game free-to-play champions that you could get. Like, almost every player that's got him will use him right through Doom Tower. He's a Doom Tower god. Mainly because of his passive. So when he takes a hit, there's a chance to put HP burn on the enemy. And HP burn is the best way to kill bosses in the endgame. Like, there's no other better way. Especially bosses where there's multiple adds. So places like Iridov, places like Sorath, places like Agref. Agref especially. He's probably the best champion in the game for Agref. And he's also no slouch anyway. Like, he's good on Clan Boss. He's good in normal Spider. Just generally, absolute solid champion anywhere that he can take a hit. And then if you forget his passive for a second, just his aura is insane. 70 accuracy for your whole team from his aura. It means that, I mean, for those that don't know it, accuracy is probably the most important stat in the game. For anyone who has to land an ability of any sort, you have to have accuracy to do it. So 70 more just makes your builds so much easier to do. So yeah, absolutely great aura. And he's also got an AoE provoke. It's only a 50%, 60% chance if you book it. And I don't even feel like you need to book this guy. I think he's just good as is. So the chance increases to 100% if people are under a burn. So there's a good chance they're going to be under a burn playing him. And can also place decrease attack, which means you've got less damage coming at you if the provoke is placed. So he needs accuracy to land all of this stuff. He's a defense-based champion, which makes him easier to build because you just build in the same stat to keep you alive as you are to hurt people. But he hits hard as well. His A2 hits like a cannon. Like, there's so many good things about this guy. And I'd say he's like a mid-game champion because you should be on that Bazaar already. Day 10 or something, you should be farming up Bazaar medals. And if you're like, I can't do it, all you should be doing is looking for the easy fights. Yeah, refresh as often as you can. Are there any easy fights in this refresh? Not really. Okay, I'll come back in 15 minutes and I'll look again. Just keep refreshing until you find those easier hits. Okay, so let's move on to the next one then. We're kind of merging now between mid and end game, really. So we're back to another legendary champion. This is maybe the best champion on the whole list. This is one of the best champions in the game, and you get yourself a Scylla the Drakes after you played the game for half a year, roughly. She is incredible. She's an incredible champion. This was one of the best things they ever did, making her a free champion to get in the game. Decreased speed A1 plus a turn meter drop. This turn meter drop is not an Armageddon turn meter drop, but it's actually a pretty good one. 50. So if you got double turn meter drop, it's as good as Armageddon, and it's only a 50% chance of that happening. But it's still solid. It's nice to get. When it procs, it's great. This is awesome against almost all Doom Tower bosses, against a spider, against the Ice Golem, against the Fire Knight. It's really good. A2, AoE stun. I actually really like her in a stun set. Also really like her with Fearsome Presence, which is a mastery that increases your chance to stun. But you could also just play her in any sort of gear set. It should be fine. But AoE stun just locks out a good chunk of enemies. And if there's less enemies hitting you, you're going to last longer in waves of content. So Doom Tower waves, any sort of waves leading up to a boss, this is a brilliant ability. And then she brings this revive, which is so clutch. When you're working your way through the mid-game and you haven't quite got the gear and the stats and the great haul to keep your team alive, this brings people back. Yeah, she's awesome for a faction as well in Faction Wars. She's got a heal all ally passive. Every time she gets a go, she throws a heal out and a random increased speed. Probably the only place I don't really play her is Clan Boss, because she doesn't really have a kit that plays in Clan Boss. But everywhere else, she's a beast and well worth your books. This is someone that I would save books for, especially as you know when you're going to get her. You know when she's going to come up. So Syl in that kind of amazing group. She's basically one of the best. We've got another login reward, who is Grush. I mean, just a bit underrated, to be honest. Like another defense champion, so all of his damage is based off the way you keep him alive. He's got Leech, which is kind of like the first avenue to be able to take life steal gear off of your champions in places like Clan Boss and start to stay alive in a different way. So Leech gives you health regen based on how much damage you do. If you proc things like War Master, that counts as you doing damage. So if you get a War Master proc, pretty much you're going to heal anyone back to full. He's also got an AoE drop attack or crit damage. It's an either or, which is the only negative part about this ability, but it hits hard and it's got a good chance to land it. And he's also got a second AoE, so he hits hard. This guy's a neuter, by the way, but throws heals on your team as well. You do want to punch his crit rate up. You do want to get his accuracy up, and then you just want to lay the nukes. Good champion, fun champion. He does bring an aura for faction crypts, which is okay. But yeah, easy to keep alive. Really, really good. Well worthwhile investing in free champion for login. So let's move on to the kind of more of the end game champs, I guess. Got a couple more Doom Tower champions. So we've got firstly, and this is you're quite late into the game to get to the second Doom Tower normal boss, normal champions. You're talking 200 tokens worth of normal. But Aethel the Sid is quality, like such a good champion. It looks so badass as well, actually. So he's got a decreased crit rate, A1, that's okay. AoE HP burn. I spoke about Drex. I said HP burn's so important. Aethel the Sid does it on an AoE hit. A free champion that does AoE HP burn. This is your ticket to beating Spider in the high levels. HP burn's just easily the best way to do it. It's also really your ticket to beating a lot of the Doom Tower content in the high levels. So this is awesome. Another AoE ability here as well. Cool passive as well, throwing out fears. Just generally a solid champion with good base stats. Another one that's based on defense so that he can stay alive quite easily. Aethel, well worth continuing that Doom Tower grind to try and get him in the bank. Now, there are two other amazing champions that you can get from Doom Tower. Rian the Conjurer is insane. Dark Kale is insane. That's number 3 and number 4 from Doom Tower normal. But they are so far away that I'm not going to go into detail on them. But if you are progressing through Doom Tower, then they are literally ridiculous. Like Dark Kale, I can't wait to get him, but I know it's, even for me on my main account, it's miles away. So I'm not going to go into any detail on those guys. 2 more like end game champions then. No, 3 more end game champions. The first one is from doing the missions. So I am working my butt off to try and get her. Arbiter brings a new level of competitive to your team, especially for the arena. She is in most endgame arena teams, for like from a casual player through to an absolute top quality player. Turn meter feel and increase attacks. It's doing 2 abilities that you need here to get your team moving and your damage up for the arena. She's got a full team revive with turn meter feel and an extra turn on her A4, which is nutty. Cool A2 as well. A weaken on her A1. A speed aura, which is one of the best in the game for the arena. And crazy base stats. Like Arbiter, anyone who's not really doing the missions, change your ways. Get going. I'm 54 days in. I'm almost at the kind of 3rd main bracket. And then I'd imagine it'll take me another month or so to actually get Arbiter. And she's going to be in most of my teams once I get her leveled out. So Arbiter, absolutely insane. We've then got ourselves a champion that was buffed. Now this is a late game. You know, you're going to be playing the game for best part 3/4 of a year here to get Visix the Ambode. They buffed her, and since the buff, she's actually solid. Solid champion. AoE provoke on her A3 with a bit of shieldage. AoE hit on her A2, chance to drop speed, and also protects her team. And then an A1 with a turn meter drop as well. This one is up there with an Armageddon A1, actually. Probably, maybe this is better. Maybe this is better than Armageddon A1 because she also fills her own turn meter at the same time, in fairness. Great base stats. Look at this base defense. One of the highest in the game. She became an actual legendary when they buffed her recently. So Visix, when you get her, she's going to be well worth investing in. And the other one, which is like the long-term grind, but well worth it, is Razzin. So Razzin is a fusible champion. So you get Razzin by saving up a whole bunch of rares, and it takes a long time to do it. This is my progress so far. So I've got 3, 5, 9, 10 of the 16 rares already, actually. 50 odd days in. 10 of the 16 rares already. That's pretty good going. So you fuse these rares into these epics, and then you fuse these epics into this legendary champion. And Razzin is a beast. Like, he is probably best known for being a clan boss legend, like decreased defense and weaken on the same ability on a single target hit. A1, which does a ton of damage and can remove buffs. You do need accuracy for both of those 2 things to land. But he also brings a full team turn meter drop. So against someone like Spider, this is good. Well, against most boss fights, this is really good if you can land it. It's on quite a long cooldown, and it hits hard. He hits hard generally. Another defense-based champion. There's actually a ton of defense-based champions in this list. He's a bit slow. Other than that, he's an absolute beast. And he will be in your clan boss team right from the outset as soon as you get him, I'd imagine. So there you go. I think that was 20. I think 20 free champions, all of which are like great. You know, it makes this game way more accessible if you can start working towards getting these different champions. And a lot of them are on you. A lot of them are on you pushing yourself in different directions in the game to get yourself ready to get them. So, look, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to download Gemstone Legends if you want to. All of the links and that will be down below for that. I've been Hell Hades. I will see you later.